Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine something so small you could barely see it, yet it holds the power to, well, reshape the very landscape around you.
Mm.
Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of lore that surprisingly pops up in the digital pages of a popular culture wiki.
Precisely. And what's intriguing here is how such a profound object is presented within that kind of context. Popular culture. We're talking about the Sutras of Raktajiba. It's called an ancient evil text from, yeah, a surprising source, but it offers us this little window into grand legends.
That's right. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to explore the true nature of these sutras, their legendary capabilities,
Right.
and the pretty surprising adventure that unfolded around them, according to our sources. By the end of this, you're going to have a shortcut, sort of, to being well-informed about this curious, tiny, yet immensely powerful artifact. So let's get into it. The Sutras of Raktajiba. What makes them so significant? What's the first thing we really need to know?
Well, the immediate hook is their nature. They're called an ancient evil text, inscribed by skilled sorcerers. Now, sutra usually makes you think of, sacred texts, spiritual
All
teachings.
positive things, usually.
Exactly. But here, the Sutras of Raktajiba are flipped. They're portrayed as ancient evil. That contrast alone is, well, pretty fascinating.
And beyond just that twist in their nature, what's really mind-boggling is the physical description. Our source says they're inscribed onto this minuscule piece of silver,
Mm-hmm.
incredibly, no larger than a grain of basmati rice.
Yeah.
Yet within that tiny space, it holds a 3,000-word incantation. It sort of challenges our whole perception of power and scale, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, this idea, 3,000 words on a rice grain-sized bit of silver, it's not just a cool visual. It kind of speaks to maybe the efficiency of ancient magic in
Yeah.
this story, or maybe the idea that real power isn't about size, but like concentrated essence.
Huh. Concentrated essence. I like that.
And we learn that a character named Mr. Jumba was the one who revealed their, well, sinister origin to Jackie Chan himself.
Okay, so we have this tiny object, deceptively powerful. What kind of legendary power are we actually talking about here? What's the catastrophe?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the legend tied to these sutras is truly devastating. If they were to make contact with the Ganges River, the river would supposedly be drained, completely dry.
Wow. Drained dry.
Yep. It's not just some small spell. It's basically an environmental apocalypse on an epic scale. And, that kind of power, it always attracts the wrong kind of people.
Draining the Ganges. That's almost biblical, like you said, not just
Wow.
a spell. So who would even think of wielding a power like that? And why? What's the motive?
Well, the story immediately introduces the main conspirators, Mr. Jumma himself, Portia Martindale, and a Dr. Weber. Their motive, as it's laid out, was pretty direct, just pure greed. Their plan was to use the sutras, drain the Ganges, and then just collect the centuries of artifacts and riches sitting on the riverbed.
Okay, so it's a treasure hunt, basically.
Yeah.
Using mythical power for immense material gain.
Exact.
But there was an immediate, very significant hurdle for them, right? This Mohaja character and his psychic powers. How did Mohaja even know about such a secret scheme?
Yeah, the source just says Mohaja was simply aware of Jumba's scheme. And that awareness meant the villains couldn't just, fly the sutras straight to India. Mohaja would detect them. So he sent his disciples to try and take the sutras from Jumba first. And that's really where the high-stakes cat-and-mouse game kicks off.
Okay, and this is where Jackie Chan gets involved, right?
Mm.
Unexpectedly intervening when they first try to steal the sutras from Jumba. So how do Jumba and his crew even start to get around Mohaja's psychic abilities if they can't transport the object directly?
Right, well, that's the stroke of evil genius, I suppose. After that first attempt failed, Jumba came up with this highly unusual, really cunning method to bypass Mohaja's psychic radar. He secretly implanted the sutras onto Jackie's mouth
Onto his mouth.
by discreetly attaching them to a tooth filling that Dr. Weber administered.
No way. A tooth filling.
Yep. And because Jackie was completely unaware, he had no idea he was carrying them. Mohaja couldn't stop his travel to India by reading his mind. He had nothing to read about the sutras and Jackie's thoughts.
Wow. It raises questions, like you said, about the limits of psychic power against, well, pure ignorance and deception.
It really does. An ingenious loophole.
So Jumba uses Jackie as an unwitting mule. That's incredibly cunning. Seems almost too simple for a master psychic to miss, doesn't it? But, okay, despite that deception, Mohaja did eventually figure out where the sutras were. What happened then?
Indeed. The story goes that Jumba and his accomplices managed to capture Jackie. They successfully removed the sutras from his mouth.
Okay, so they got him back.
They did, but then there was a brief skirmish, a fight, and in the chaos, the sutras accidentally fell down a sink.
Oh, no.
Mm.
Head for the river.
Exactly. But crucially, Jackie's niece, Jade, she then cornered the villains down in the sewers, and she managed to stop the sutras just before they fell into the river water. A really pivotal moment prevented the whole catastrophe.
Wow, Jade saves the day. So, close call. And then Mahaja shows up.
Yeah, Mahaja arrived right on time, immobilized the three villains, and then Jackie handed Mahaja the sutras, entrusting him, to keep them safe. A proper heroic ending to, a truly wild plan.
Phew, what a ride. So what does all this mean for you, our listener? We've journeyed through the story of the Sutras of Raktajiba, from this tiny ancient text holding immense destructive power to being the key object in a really high-stakes adventure, all driven by greed and some very clever deception.
What's fascinating here, I think, is just the sheer audacity of it all. This whole grand, dangerous plan centered around something so incredibly small yet so potent. This adventure with its psychic blocks and ingenious tricks, it really shows how a single powerful artifact can become this narrative engine, like a MacGuffin almost. It drives what the characters do, leads to unexpected twists. Right.
And it really emphasizes how even the most unassuming, the most minuscule objects, if they're imbued with enough power and legend,
Right.
they can drive these complex plots and reveal the lengths people will go to, whether it's for wealth or, for safety.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you ponder this, maybe consider the vast array of other objects mentioned in our source materials wiki context, things like the Ponku box or the orb of Quan Lo. I mean, if a piece of silver the size of a rice grain can drain an entire river, what other unthinkably powerful artifacts might be hidden in plain sight within the world of these stories? And who are the unsung protectors, the Mohajas or maybe even the Jades, keeping them from falling into the wrong hands? Something to mull over as you encounter other legends out there.